Have you ever watched hummingbirds flitting around a feeder, chasing each other? They're super adorable little creatures, but their behavior is not at all productive. So I'm gonna give you a little story here. Every spring I put out hummingbird feeders in my yard and I get to watch these tiny little balls of energy zipping around, hovering in midair. It's super fascinating to watch. I have a feeder right outside my office window. And let me tell you, once you attract them, they become regulars. They will come back over and over and over all season because free food, right? So I get to watch them all season long. Here's the thing. These little guys can be really territorial. So even though my feeder has 8 feeding ports, if a hummingbird shows up and then another one comes along, they won't share. They hover, they chirp, they face off, and they chase each other away, wasting so much energy. And then sometimes both of them end up flying off without even getting any food. All right, I know this sounds silly, but keep rocking with me because here's how it connects to you. The hummingbird behavior reminds me a lot of how we sometimes act in business. We get so caught up in watching and comparing ourselves to our competitors that we forget about what's right in front of us is our own opportunities. So we chase after the shiny objects that they seem to have instead of focusing on building our own success on our own terms. That constant comparison game, or comparisonitis, if you will, lands us in a space of anxiety and self-doubt, and it ultimately ends up holding us back from achieving goals. So the question here is, how do we break free from this kind of hummingbird habit? There's 2 key steps here. The first one is to recognize the shiny object syndrome. We see someone successful and we think that we need to copy everything that they do. But remember, you only see their highlight reel, not the struggles behind the scenes. So when we start looking to others to see what they're doing, maybe we're drawing from their awesomeness. That would be cool. But more often than not, we're drawing nothing but anxiety. We're comparing and nitpicking ourselves to death. So the thing that we have to remember is glancing over to see what our neighbor is doing gives us a very shallow picture of what's going on. We're still clueless about all of the behind the scenes stuff. So how did they get to where they're at? What amount of effort did they put forth? What do they have to give up? We don't know. All we know is what we see. So comparing where we are at to where we think they're at is not only not helpful, it's harmful. It makes you feel less than, incapable, and it probably is very frustrating and even defeating. So number 2 here, shift your focus. Instead of comparing, admire. What traits do you find attractive or inspiring about her? And is this something that you want to reproduce for yourself? If the answer to that is yes, let's do that. First, we have to stop. She's further ahead than me. She's better at that than me. I should be as far along in my business as random other businesswoman. It may be helpful to replace that dialogue with something like, I love that about her. I'm going to strive for that in my own unique way. That's quick advice, but it's a lifelong habit that needs to form, and it takes time and practice to create. So do yourself a favor and take that time. It's worth it, and so are you. Then we're going to take those traits that you've identified as attractive and figure out what about you and the way you are already exhibiting those traits will help you to develop them further in an authentic way on your own time. Remembering that this is about you, not her. So you've got your own journey with your own unique hurdles and strengths. So you emulate what you admire in others in your own way. I know I sound like a broken record. I just really need you to understand that I want you to strive for all of those things you admire in others as long as it's true to who you are and you're doing it in a way that lets you be you. Trying to show up like someone else not only looks inauthentic from the outside, but it's a subtle message to your own subconscious that who you are just isn't good enough, and that couldn't be further from the truth. Breaking the comparison habit takes time and practice, so be patient with yourself. And if you need help, don't hesitate to reach out to me. That's what I'm here for. Remember, you are capable and worthy, and you have your own unique path to travel. So ditch the comparisonitis and start focusing on your own unique blend of success. It's your definition of success. Now, on a final note, that comparisonitis is really strongly tied to the inner critic that I often talk about. I have a ton of tips on dealing with the inner critic, which you can dive into right here.